I love talking with passionate business owners. Their enthusiasm is irresistible, their knowledge is invaluable, and their wisdom holds the keys to transforming your passion into a successful business. As a marketing strategist, I help people around the world innovate and grow their business. I'm Jay Hamilton Roth, and this is Business with Passion. Today's episode features guests who earn a living licensing new products and technologies to corporations. Howard Arneson's best-known patent was for the pool sweep, which launched the automatic swimming pool cleaning industry. Since then, he's revolutionized offshore powerboating and continues to push the speed envelope of racing boats.
I was born in Benicia, California. It's about 25 miles from here. My mother and dad were both born there, so we go way back, and we didn't get very far from the tree. I had invented an emergency vehicle light. That was the first one, and sold quite a few of them. They were for municipalities, cities around the country. A fellow by the name of Andrew Panzini from Marin County here called on me to want to tell me what he was thinking about, and one thing led to another. And I invented the pool sweep as it's known today, came out of that, and that one really was the one that took hold. The thing that I'm most proud of is being able to market that product. You know, people get a lot of ideas and there are a lot of things invented, but the name of the game is selling it. And we went through a lot of trials and tribulations. It wasn't readily accepted by the industry. The pool service people thought we were going to put them out of business, which wasn't true. The pool builder thought if they tried to sell this automatic cleaning device, that must mean it's a big problem, and they wanted to hide that, and it is a big problem. So getting over those hurdles, that I'm most proud of. So we came up with a method of offering a free trial to these people. Everybody, they all were interested, but you know, does it work or does it not work? And we don't expect them to take our word for it. So we offered them a free trial, and that was a key. And we hardly ever had when we offered a free trial, they always resulted in a sale. One or two we missed, but very, very few. It's got to be made so that a lot of people can sell it. It can't be when your hands start moving, stop moving, your income stops. It's got to be continuing on, and figuring out how to do that was the key to the whole thing, really. I sold the pool sweep company in 1969. It's strange to think here you are at the top of the heap in a particular industry, in a particular market, and you quit that and you go on to something else. Ever since I was a little kid, I was interested in boats and outboards. I can remember the first outboards. I thought it was the greatest thing going. And so that interest was deeper than any pool sweep always was there. So, and you always want to go a little faster and a little better and this and that, and you know how that goes. And one idea led to another. And this drive system that we got the patent on, we invented, it's called a surface piercing drive. Now, surface piercing propellers and boats have been around for ancient years, but they were very special items, and they didn't work on a normal type boat. They were like hydroplanes and things like that. And we came up with an idea that we could put it on just about any boat. And now that they're on patrol boats and mega yachts, our big market. A lot of people think that these high-speed boats like mine and these high-performance boats, that's what it's all about. Well, that's just a drop in the bucket on the business. The major market that we have is a big mega yachts. We're big over in the Mediterranean. We're well known. The Arneson name in Europe is, throughout the world, is actually pretty well known in the boating industry. The main thing that it offers, it does offer more performance for the same amount of horsepower. These boats will go a lot faster, and it doesn't make any difference how old you are. You always want to go a little faster, it seems like. So, and people from all walks of life, they want to go a little faster. They want to be able to say that they can do this and that. And fortunately, we gave them a product that allowed them to go faster, or at least claim to go faster without having to lie. The Arneson boat has won the world's championship in offshore racing 2 years in a row. That's overall for everything, and that's a lot to be proud of. But the most prestigious thing that we've done, and I think it's a very highly regarded in the boating industry, we set the record from New Orleans to St. Louis.
A 70-year-old entrepreneur has shattered the record for the Mississippi River Marathon boat race from New Orleans to St. Louis. Howard Arneson of San Rafael, California, cruised into the riverfront at 7:35 this evening, 12 hours and 44 minutes after the race's start. The previous record was 20 hours and 16 minutes set back in 1984. Arneson says the key to his success was the boat's drive system, which he designed to go 125 miles an hour.
Whoever beats this record, they're going to earn every foot of it. I can guarantee you that. It was tough.
Before the start of this race this morning, we thought that the best time to hope for was an average of 75 miles per hour, which would have put him up around 14 hours finishing it. So did much better than the best we'd hoped for this morning by a long shot. So this record ought to stand for a long time.
Arneson, by the way, wins $10,000 for smashing the old record. 4 boats started the race in New Orleans, only 3 of them finished. The River Marathon race was first run in 1870, when the paddle wheeler Robert E. Lee took top honors.
We made that run 1,039 miles in 12 hours and 40 minutes. And that included 4 fuel stops. And there's no marinas to speak of along the way. We had to have a barge with fuel out there to meet us when we needed the fuel. But to sit in that thing, and I drove every inch of the way, and I was 70 at the time, so 69 and a half. So there's a lot to it. And we're running over 100 all the time. I licensed a company by name of Twin Disc. They're a large company out of Racine, Wisconsin, and they're over in Europe and throughout the world. And they manufacture and sell the product. I have a royalty contract with them, and I'm doing further development work on my own, getting additional patents. We celebrate, this year is the 30th year of the product, and longevity in the patent business is, patents are short-term a thing in the overall picture, and we're able to stay ahead of the game by getting additional patents and improving the product to protect it. I think that there's a lot left out there to do, and I don't want to leave anything on the table. So I'm working hard at it. This is a 46-foot skater. It's built special features for our application. And we have a single engine in it, which is, in a boat that size, is probably the only one out there running with one engine. And engine in the center of a catamaran usually does not like to work in that position, but this works quite well. We have a gas turbine engine. It's 4,500 horsepower. And to have that much control, have that much throttle, in your hand, it's a pretty awesome feeling to unleash that thing. The startup procedure, it sounds like you're at the airport, really, because it is an aircraft engine. This engine came out of a Chinook helicopter, and we have 2 little jet motors from their Yamaha Wave Runner jet engines, and we just use those for getting on and off the trailer and inside the harbor, so I don't have to start up the main engine. And once we get off the trailer and get it out in the open water, then we fire up the big one and shut those off, and away we go. People ask me about those. I always tell them that's my passing gear, but they don't do anything. They only go about 5 miles an hour. So we get the big engine started, and they spool up, and you're in the idle position, and you advance the throttle, and you get up on plane, and then that's when the fun begins. And it doesn't kick up much of a wake. There's hardly any wake at all because we're not drawing much water. The prop is only running half in the water when we're running. And so we have cameras on the back, video cameras, check and see what we're doing, because we're always experimenting, always testing stuff. And the prop is half out of the water. You can see the upper half of the blade spinning out there in daylight, just as plain as day. And you think, my God, how, you know, it'd be better if it was all the way down there, but it's not true. And as long as people keep thinking that way, we'll keep selling more drives. And so anyway, that upper half of the prop is very inefficient in a normal boat. So when that thing gets going, the acceleration is awesome. It's going to get your attention. Well, what we do is fun for me anyway, is that I go over by San Quentin and come in close to their parking lot, and then run parallel to the bridge. And all those cars are going at least the speed limit, if not more. And we like to come up and roar alongside of them and then nail it and blow them all off, and that's fun for me. So, and I'm sure it gets their attention too. And you know, the screwy part about all of this, I've been in the pool industry and out in this thing, and I don't know how to swim. I really don't. I can make it from here to there, but that's it. But I won't go out there without a life jacket on. I respect the water. The magic is, number one, the bottom half of the blade on the rotation is where all the work is done. If that was a fully submerged prop. And because there's an angle to the shaft and there's rake on the props, that only one phase of a revolution is that favorable. And that is on the lower half. The upper half, it's working against you. So by eliminating that, getting that out of the water, we've eliminated that unfavorable position. And it's drawing in, a lot of people think it's cavitating, it's slipping, or it's, you know, it kicks up a big rooster tail. And they think, oh, that's power going to waste. That's not true. Because what makes the boat go, another thing, a lot of people think a propeller is like a screw, and it's screwing itself through the water. It's not true at all. It's the water that's being kicked off the back of that forces the boat forward. If you're standing in a dinghy, a little boat or a life raft, and you had a bowling ball that weighs 16 pounds, and if you threw it off the back of the boat, the momentum of that throwing it off the back of the boat, the force that it took to eject that would push the dinghy forward. And if you had enough balls and bowling balls and they didn't kill you for the weight, you could go across the ocean. Well, that's the way the propeller works. I was just enjoying life and having a boat and wanting to go fast and so forth. And the result of it is the patent came from making that improvement on the device. Mechanical things always interested me, very much so. But I had no formal training in engineering, so I found early in life in this thing I could hire somebody to figure something out for me that I couldn't figure out, but I couldn't hire them to do my thinking for me. And I don't leave here till 2 or 3 in the morning most of the time, and I don't get here at 8 in the morning. But you know, like say, you know, own your own business, and you know, you only work half a day. I do 12 hours, you know, or more. So but it's never been work to me. It never has. There's not enough hours in the day. Well, you're always thinking. Always, no matter what you're doing, except riding in the boat.
For me, the key strategic insights of Howard Arneson's success are: first, he focuses on innovating and hires others to solve the technical problems. Next, Howard knows that ideas alone won't generate money. You must determine how to effectively sell your product. And lastly, he continues to protect his intellectual property by continually innovating new solutions. Joe Grand is an electrical engineer and hardware hacker who specializes in the invention, design, and licensing of consumer products, video game accessories, and modules for electronic hobbyists.
Sometimes when I talk about what I do, I refer to myself as a professional hobbyist, because I get to you know, do what I've always loved doing, which is just design products and build things and see how things work. Kind of the hobbyist side of things, but then I also get to license those ideas out to big companies, and that's the professional side. I make money doing what I love doing. And there's a lot of days where I just sort of can't really believe that. You know, I operate out of my second bedroom of my house, and this is my lab, and this is my office, and everything happens here. But I love it. You know, I couldn't be happier. I'll spend 12 hours a day in the lab working on something. But that's part of engineering. That's part of the fun. It's just trying to get stuff working. And then being able to go and license that technology out or protect my IP, you know, invent stuff and then sell it to somebody else is cool. Because I don't want to deal with manufacturing. I have a pretty short attention span. I just want to design stuff, see if it works, push it out the door and work on something new. So yeah, I mean, professional hobbyist, and it's, you know, I've always known that I was going to do engineering, and I've just always been driven this way. And just based on all the experiences that I've had growing up, this is just, you know, where I ended up. So this is the first circuit board that I ever designed when I was very young. It's pretty simple. I'd hand etched it with a Radio Shack circuit board etching kit. And it's basically just 2 resistors that plug into the phone line. But what this did is it would enable you to use your telephone line and call out like regular, but for callers coming in, they get a busy signal. So it's sort of a good way to stop telemarketers during dinner. For me, I used to turn this thing on to just make sure that like the telephone company wouldn't call and tell my parents about the stuff I was doing with the phone lines or anything like that. Stop the Secret Service from calling during dinner. But it was cool. So this is my first attempt at a circuit board, very simple, and just really, really cool. I'm glad I have it. My family has always been completely supportive of everything I've done, you know, whether it's engineering related to my passion or whether it's some, you know, athletic endeavor that I'm trying to do. They've just always been supportive, even through a lot of the rough times that they probably shouldn't have been supportive. You know, I've just been involved in computers and electronics for so long. They knew early on that this was my passion. You know, they really supported that, but they didn't spoil me. They said, okay, you know, you want a new modem, you want that fast 1200 baud modem, you have $36 in your bank account, you can spend some of that and we'll help you. So it really was not only, you know, they were supporting me, but not smothering me and kind of just throwing stuff at me. So it made me really appreciate what I was doing. I made conscious decisions about, okay, I want this modem. I want to upgrade to an Atari 130XE. You know, kind of make choices on my own, so they kind of guide me a little bit. As I got older and I got involved more in the computer underground, the hacker environment, talking to people on bulletin board systems, accessing computer systems that I probably shouldn't have accessed at the time, they were still supportive. I mean, you know, they knew that this was an area that was up and coming, technology and computers, and we were one of the lucky families to have a computer at home. When I started using computers in 1982, that wasn't a common thing. So they just kind of supported that, which was really good. And you know, they ended up coming to, later on when I was part of this hacker think tank called The Loft, which was a clubhouse in Boston. There were 7 of us that had all met online, and we had the same passion about exploring technology and computer security and kind of the hacker community. We'd have parties, and my parents would come to the parties and hang out, and everyone's like, oh, Joe's parents are here, cool. And at first they helped me pay rent for the space so I could continue to be involved with this group of guys that were sort of mentoring me. So they've definitely been there, but not to the point of excess, which is good. You know, they kind of stood back and watched me explore what I like to do, but still kept me in line. My business today is an engineering company that I run, which is just me, called Grand Idea Studio. And basically what I do is just invent prototypes of products, consumer electronics, video game accessories, electronics modules for hobbyists, build those up and license them out to companies that will manufacture them. So for me, it's just a great opportunity because I get to spend time in my lab, build up prototypes. If I think of an idea that it's like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to build, I'll try to build it. If it works, you know, maybe it's worth protecting with a patent and going out to try to commercialize, but a lot of the times it's not. So maybe I'll, you know, release it to the public for free, open source, just to get other people excited about products and learn from my work. So it's sort of this, you know, good way I'm able to give back to the community by doing what I want, but I'm also able to license products off to other companies and make money and kind of, you know, fund the passion. even though I've known that I wanted to be an engineer since I was a little kid, it wasn't always this easy path, right? I mean, I knew that I was going to be an engineer, but sometimes my passion sort of took me in the wrong direction. I'm proud of everything that happened throughout my life, because everything I sort of treat as a learning process. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for all of the problems that I encountered when I was younger. So, you know, one example, I was involved in the hacker community for many years, and still am. And I spent a lot of my youth exploring computer systems through the telephone network, through the internet. And I ended up meeting a bunch of other people online, and we had a hacker group called Renegade Legion back in the early 1990s. And you know, it was basically just a bunch of guys that had a passion for computers and kind of this subversive nature and anti-authority kind of thing. And we'd release text files on various things, various nefarious activities. But through that, I kind of pushed the limit a little too far, and I ended up getting in trouble when I was 16 for a variety of computer-related events. And that was one of the things where that was a life-changing experience. I got in trouble to the point of I either had to do a sport or get a job, was the mandate. My parents at that point were like, we knew eventually something would happen. We knew what you were doing up in that room, but you know, they supported me, you know, and didn't push. They were just kind of waiting for me to learn on my own. And when I got in trouble, that was the learning experience for me. But it shaped my life. That experience on its own, just getting in trouble with these group of guys, shaped my life like I couldn't imagine. I ended up I chose to do a sport instead of getting a job because I didn't want to work for someone else, even at that young age in high school. So I started running track and field in high school because I had a few friends that ran track. That ended up carrying over to running marathons in the early part of college, then becoming a competitive Division I athlete at Boston University, running track, and then running post-collegiate with a competitive club in Boston, meeting Keely, my now wife, on the track team. And that also sort of led us to moving to California and then starting triathlons and kind of just this whole snowball effect of, you know, one thing follows all these other things. And if I hadn't gotten in trouble when I was 16, I might not have started running track, which is another passion of mine, athletics. I might not have met Keely. So it's just all these things, you know, everything. I sort of think, I'm not religious by any means, but I sort of think everything happens for a reason. And whether that's just, you know, you look at something and make it how you want it to be, and find something of benefit from everything that happened. And it's crazy to think back and be like, wow, man, I got in trouble for, you know, doing some really stupid stuff, and I had to earn some money to pay restitution, and I was on curfew with my parents. But it shaped so many things. And even out of that was another, it was sort of a learning experience for my parents, because they knew that I was so entrenched in exploring and pushing the limits of things and pushing authority. But even after I got in trouble, they still supported me. That's when I got involved with the Loft. And those guys were all a number of years older than me. And they became my mentors. They said, okay, we know you're smart, but you're doing some stupid stuff on the computer. We think you can take that energy and turn it into something good. So they kind of took me in under their wing, and my parents helped pay my portion of the rent for the loft space that we had in Boston. And you know, then from there I realized that I could actually take my passion and take my knowledge of electronics and what I like to do and use it for good and turn it into a business. So, you know, there's just been these stepping stones and these events. You know, someone might look at me and be like, oh, he got arrested for stuff when he was a kid. You know, he's stupid, or, you know, he's not trustworthy or whatever. But luckily I was young and I learned my lesson, and I'm completely happy that it happened, and I wouldn't have changed it at all. This is a Trivial Pursuit card that I happen to be mentioned in. In 1998, when I was still with the Loft, we were invited to testify in front of Senate to talk about the state of computer security in government, which was crazy, because it was seven hackers with their hacker handles talking to Senator Glenn and Senator Lieberman and all of these, you know, government officials about how bad computer security was, and it was really bad. Basically, the whole session was explaining doomsday scenarios and what malicious hackers could do if they wanted to, whether it was a foreign nation state or terrorist or whatever. But really, the main thing that came out of that was one phrase that all of us were just like, oh man, shaking our heads over. One of the senators said, is it true that you can take down the internet in 30 minutes? And Mudge, one of the guys, said, yes, we can take down the internet in 30 minutes, which was true. There was a lot of backbone core vulnerabilities to the internet that if you take out key points, you could have taken down the internet. But that was just one of the security problems we talked about that day, but that was the only one that the media really picked up on. I tell people a lot of times I'd rather eat dog food out of a can than go have to work for someone else, because I just love being able to work on my own. Even with Prototype This, the TV show that I was a co-host of on Discovery Channel, I still got to exercise my passion. We designed prototypes of crazy things that you know, just to show that we could, giant boxing robots or a truck that can drive over traffic. So I got to do the engineering side of things, but even that, I had to wake up at a certain time. I had to be in front of the camera at a certain time. I had to walk in through the doorway a certain way. So there's all these things that it was still, you know, I got to do what I love to do, but there was all this stuff around it. So, you know, it was almost it was a televised version of engineering, which was great. And I got to, you know, share that passion with the masses. But for me, I prefer to just sit in the lab, work on projects, talk to my friends on the computer, go running when I want to, hang out with my son when I want to. But in general, you know, I work from home and I do what I love to do. And I'm not distracted by middle managers or weekly meetings. I just get to apply my passion and do what I love to do all the time. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
I see the key strategic insights of Joe Grand's success as, first, since childhood, he's explored electronics with the full support of his family. Next, his Hacker Underground experiences provided an unexpected benefit. He found a new passion, running. Lastly, he does what he loves, working solo, developing cool things, and licensing products to others for ongoing income. Today's guests have specialized in doing what they love in their own way and getting paid to innovate designs and products that are used worldwide. I hope that this episode has given you many good ideas for increasing your business with passion.